Today we are going to talk about my IDICBeer tournament, the ups and the downs, and also how did my Necron list really perform. It's coming right up.
Necrons!
Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. Right, today we are going to be talking more about my IDICBeer Dominion War 2022 tournament. I've already made a vlog type video about the tournament itself, and as you can see from that vlog, everyone had an amazing time. It was an awesome day. But today I want to talk a little bit more in depth about the event, the before, the during, and also the future of the event. And I want to talk more about how my list performed on the day, because in my vlog I didn't really say about how my list performed. I only had a before and after the game clip. Now I did win both of my games. Actually I won the tournament, but more on that later, and I will talk about the actual games in this video because when I want to share that with you guys, I thought I'd just throw everything in this video together so that we could have a chat about the whole event. And if you are planning to go to a tournament yourself or maybe run a tournament, then hopefully this video will be useful. Stupid motorbikes. So let's start right at the beginning. How did I come up with this tournament idea to get YouTubers together and play some games of 40k, which is ultimately what my event is all about? Well, it all started in 2019, where I celebrated being on YouTube for 10 years. I thought it would be fun to get some of my gaming buddies from YouTube together and play a few games. And that's escalated into, well, if we're going to do that, let's have a little mini tournament. So we had 8 YouTubers, we had 3 tables, I had 2 inside, 1 outside under a gazebo, and we had a fantastic day. It was awesome. Everyone enjoyed it, and the plan was, well, this went so well, I'm going to do another one next year. However, obviously COVID-19 hit, and that was out of the window. Since that event, I've also now moved house. I live with my fiance, and to be fair, we only have enough room in our apartment for 1 gaming table, so the event was never going to happen in the house. However, luckily where I live there's a little marquee available where we can hire this marquee, and it worked out I could get 4 or 5 tables in this marquee. So the Dominion War tournament was born. The plan is to have this event a yearly event, which is why I named it with a year. So Dominion War 22, and obviously next year will be 23. So I already pre-planned that I'm going to have this as a yearly event. And I'd learnt quite a lot from my little get-together tournament in 2019. And one of those things that I'd learnt is that trying to collaborate with other people for a particular day of an event was quite difficult. In other words, like, who can make this day, who can make this day, and people sort of say, oh, I'm on holiday that week, and another person say, oh yeah, I can't make that day, and we found it very difficult to actually select a date. So I thought this time I'm just going to have to say this is the day of the event, and then hopefully people will be able to work around it. So that's what I decided to do. So I set the date for the 13th of August, and I booked the marquee for that weekend. Now, whilst this was an up for me because it just meant it was easier, it's like this is the weekend of the tournament and potentially I could have the same weekend every year. Of course it had a bit of a down because there were a few people that couldn't make it. Actually, only 4 people from my original event could make this one, and that was of course myself, Richard from CM Wargames, who I believe actually gave up going to another event to come to mine, so thank you Richard for that. 6 plus Steve-O, of course. No event would be the same without Steve-O there. And lastly we had Darren from Twisted Dice, who actually won the 2019 tournament. There is a link to both of the tournament videos in the description below for you to check out in your leisure. At your leisure. The 4 people that couldn't make my events that were at my original event were Nick from Old Average Brit Gaming, we had Bill from Warzone 40k, Warzone Morlock 40k, 40k Morlock Warzone, link in the description below. Bill couldn't make it. We had Aceface from Twisted Dice, who sadly couldn't make it either, and one more. Of course, my old gaming buddy, Blood Orc, who sadly doesn't really play that much these days. So yeah, we were down to just 4 people, so I had to start inviting some others. Now I live in the south coast of England, literally right on the south coast. I literally open up my windows and there is the beach. So everyone for me is up north in the UK, so I knew that I'd have to find some YouTubers fairly close because of course travelling restrictions. So I did invite quite a number of people. I invited Simply Wargaming, who was going to come at the beginning, but sadly I think his missus booked a holiday on the weekend that the tournament was, so he was coming and then he dropped out. I invited the Essex boys and Jono Johnson's Wargaming, what's it called? Front Room Wargaming, yeah, Jono Johnson's Front Room Wargaming, which I knew he was up north because I could tell by his accent, and sadly, yeah, it's too far for him to come, so he couldn't come. I also invited quite a few other people who couldn't make it for various reasons. That included Dom from Black Toad Studios, who again originally was going to come but then had to pull out. So I was getting very nervous about having enough people. My vision was 10 people at the event, 4 tables, 10 people. Last time we had 8 people and 3 tables, and it worked really well, so that's what I was thinking. Anyway, 4 quickly became 6. I had Voldemort from Voldemort's Guide to Warhammer, and we had Tom, the other half of Black Toad Studios, who was going to come. I'd played Tom previously at an event in Liverpool that I went to. We had a great game, and I'd played Voldemort previously at my place as well, so I knew both of them. Awesome stuff. Now at the time I didn't know that Aceface wasn't going to make it, so actually in my head we had 7 people. And then I heard back from somebody else that I invited, bit of a surprise to me because he lives quite far away, and that was Big Mech Danskull. Not only did he say, yes, I can come, but he also said, can I bring someone along with me? And that was Let's Make It Orky, who has a YouTube channel and also a Twitch stream, and she's on Instagram. So I thought, awesome, that'd be fantastic. So that gave us 9 people. So I had 1 space to fill, and I'd recently done a collaboration with Planet 40k, another awesome Necron channel, and I thought it would be fantastic if he could come. So I messaged him and invited him, and he said he couldn't make it, and I thought, that's a shame, that is a shame. So we were 1 player short because I wasn't quite sure about Aceface. So Big Mac Danskull said, hey, I know someone else, and that was Josh from the Pickle Jar. So that gave us our 10 as long as Aceface was coming. However, Aceface had to drop out at the last minute, so I went back to Planet 40k and said, are you sure you don't want to come? And he said, I think I will come, but I'm on holiday, I'm driving back the day before your tournament. Anyway, he basically made some rearrangements. He could make it. We had our final 10 people, and I can tell you that was quite a stressful time because I really wanted 10 people there. I didn't want to have an odd number there because, well, then you start having to do buys and stuff with the draw. So yeah, and obviously I'm doing this tournament free, so I think if probably you're sort of charging for tickets, I suppose you get people who would buy the ticket and make a bit more of a commitment. I'm not saying that the guys didn't commit, but you know where I'm coming from. Basically, if you paid for something, then you're more than likely going to go. Anyway, so yeah, that was pretty stressful, but it all worked out in the end, and we had our 10 places. Now, at my previous event, I did some little trophies and a couple of little prizes. First prize, second prize, and a wooden spoon. I wanted to repeat that, but I wanted to increase the prize pot. So I went to a couple of people that I've worked with previously and got some sponsorship for the event. So we had a Battle Boards store who gave me a Necron Kill Team board, a custom made one. You've probably seen the videos on my channel previously about my board from them, and they're fantastic. So custom made. There's a link to the Facebook page for you to check out if you want to. So I had that prize, so I gave that to the first prize, and I bought a couple of extra bits and pieces to go with it. So there was a Necron flayed one, McFarlane toy, and then I had my other sponsor, Innovative Tinkering, who gave me some dice for the event. Actually, he gave me some more dice for my 25k giveaway as well. That hopefully will be coming up soon. I'm nearly there. Not only that, but I've got a 30% discount code from Innovative Tinkering. It's just IDICBeer. It's all in the description below, so check it all out. But yeah, thank you to both of my sponsors. I also gave away something from the Magnet shop, although they weren't a sponsor, but they'd previously sent me loads of stuff. So I gave a really useful box away with a magnetic sheet that goes on the bottom. So we had some nice prizes there. I am thinking that next year I'm going to expand the prizes and have a third place, just a small prize for third place, because first and second's nice, but with 10 people I felt a third place probably would be better. I'm going to stick obviously the wooden spoon there. I also did something fun, the Dominion War Section 31, which is like a little secret project, and that was randomly drawn. I thought it'd be nice to know that if you're not winning the event, you can still win something. So I did Slay the Warlord. So in your game, if you slayed a warlord, you got an entry, and then all of the entries got into a hat, and then randomly drew one. So that's the prizes I had. Next time, I'm definitely going to do a third place thing, and I'm going to do best painted. And the reason why I didn't do best painted this time is because, well, who's going to judge it? But one of my work colleagues gave me an idea, and he said just get a piece of paper and get everyone to vote. And obviously you're not allowed to vote for your own, so everyone picks an army, and then we find out who everyone voted for. So I thought I'll do best painted next year. I also wanted this event to be a little bit more professional. The way the tables were laid out, it just looked really nice in the marquee. And on the tables I had printed out all of the missions. I had the Section 31 secret mission on the table as well. I had the terrain map all printed out, and also a features terrain like printout where it told you what the terrain actually does and all the benefits that you have. And I made actually a mission pack as well, which I didn't do in the first one. So I made a PDF mission pack about the day and sent it out to everyone. So it was definitely a lot more prepared. I didn't ask people to submit their lists before, just bring your list on the day, because, well, it's not really a tournament, it's more of a fun thing, which is a tournament, but it's like a get together, so I just didn't want to make it too official. I also got some food and some drink in as well, and I said to people, if you want to bring some food and drink as well, then you can, because last time that's what happened, everybody brought some stuff. So we had plenty of food, plenty of drink, we had the table set up, we were ready to go. We used the South Coast app, I can't 100% remember what it's called, but we used an app, and it gave us a random draw for the first draw, and then it paired up the winners and losers for the next round. So the random draw happened, and I was up against Let's Make It Orky, but not with her orcs, with her Tyranids. Now I've made plenty of videos about my list that I took to the event. For a recap, it is a patrol detachment only event. I did that because, well, last time we did a Highlander format, so basically as many troops as you like, but then only one unit of the same type elsewhere in your codex. And I thought I'd do a similar thing this time, but let's sort of make it more 9th edition based, because the previous tournament was in 8th edition. So I went for patrol detachment only, so hopefully just cut down the shenanigans, but give everyone a bit of a chance to make a half decent list. And of course no Forge World, and without the patrol detachment that means no Lords of Wars, etc., although I was informed that Thraka is not a Lord of War. However, no one took Thraka, so that's okay. So that was the idea behind the fixed patrol detachment, just to even the battlefield and try to keep that fun element to the tournament more than let's sort of punch your face in and just like obliterate every game. Now, what did I end up doing? So I was up against Let's Make It Orky. She had a Tyrannofex, she had a Tervigon, she had some Gants, some Gaunts, she had some Gene Stealers, and she had a Brood Lord. However, she did make a bit of a boo-boo on her deployment. She put the Brood Lord right at the front of the deployment zone, and then she had her Gene Stealers behind, totally exposing the Brood Lord, and I went first. So I ended up getting first turn. I did my pre-game move. It was a table quarter to quarter. I think it's cleanse the land was the mission. So we were very close already, plus my pre-game move, and I just got my Annihilation Barge into position to shoot out the Gene Stealers. The guns from the spiders did a great job of just whittling everything down, and I managed to kill all the Gene Stealers and also the Brood Lord. The heavy destroyers didn't do that well. I think only one heavy destroyer got a bullet to wound, and I think I did like 6 wounds or something. But that thing had 17 wounds, so it was only a small dent. In her turn, she concentrated on my Scarabs. She brought the Tyrannofex up. She did shoot out my heavy destroyers. I think I lost 2 heavy destroyers. And then she concentrated on my Scarabs. And then I used one of my stratagems to heroically intervene with my spider unit, and I managed to get in, and I basically took most of the army out. In my next turn, I fell back with the heavy destroyers and the Technomancer behind a piece of terrain, and then I spent 2 turns just generating the heavy destroyers back with rights reanimation, giving me those heavy guns to then work on the Tyrannofex and the Tervigon. That's the one. So anyway, it was basically over. I can't remember which turn. I think it was turn 4. Must have been turn 4. So I managed to score 100 points in my first game, which I was very happy about, because in the first tournament, 2019, I came second place and Darren won. So I sort of would like to have beaten Darren this time and potentially got first place, and well, I was well on my way. So once I finished my game, and the whole idea of having more people than tables was so that we could all have a good chat, we could make some YouTube videos, we could interact with each other, we could have some food, we could have some drink, we could chill out. However, it didn't quite work out as well as in 2019, because, well, we had Orcs versus Necrons playing the last game of the first batch. So we had 8 people playing, 2 people left. One of them was Orcs, one of them was Necrons, and the Necron player had warrior blobs, so it was almost like a horde on horde, and that game took quite a long time. I think by the time the second game was finished, bearing in mind we started at 10 o'clock, by the time the second game was finished, it was about 3 o'clock, coming up to half 3. So I was a bit gutted, to be honest, because a couple of people came to me and said, look, Nick, I'm really sorry, I've got to be gone like 6:30ish, maybe 7 at the latest, and it was pretty clear we were not going to get 3 games in. And I had an opportunity to put an extra table out the previous day when I was setting up, but 2019 tournament went so well in that format, I couldn't believe that it was so badly timed for this one, and I was a bit disappointed. I had a chat with a couple of the guys and everyone was fine about it, but Darren and I decided that probably the best thing to do is just have 2 games, and it worked out fine. but I was a bit disappointed, and I learnt a few things. Now, the reason why these games took longer is because in 2019 the secondary objectives were kill points only, and this one we used the proper 3 secondary objectives, and I think just the scoring and where quite a few people hadn't played Nephilim that much, or not even played for a good few months, it just took longer for the games to happen. So going forward, potentially I might just limit it or just have 2 games. A lot of people said that 2 games was enough for them, bearing in mind that a lot of the people here have never really been to a proper tournament. They've never played more than 1 game in a row, let alone 3 games in a row, and everyone seemed happy with the 2 games, apart from maybe Darren, which we'll talk more about that later. Not in a bad way, but I'll talk more about that later. So yeah, going forward I could potentially just say 2 games, everyone just chill and take your time with your game, you know, there's no rush. Or I'm going to have to put time limits on it, so say 2.5 hours a game. So you have your 10 o'clock to 12, break till 1 o'clock, then 1 o'clock to 3:30, break for half an hour, and then 4 o'clock to 6:30, and then presentation 6:30 to 7. I'd have to set it out in stone and be pretty rigorous on the timing. I'm not sure I want to do that, because that takes away the edge of we're here to have fun and to meet as YouTubers. It's not a tournament, it's a YouTubers meet up playing games. So I'll have a chat with everyone nearer the time. Obviously we could come down in points, maybe not 1,000 points, maybe 500 points or 700 points, but I think 1,000 points is nice. It gives you, I like 1,000 points, I think it's a good range, but we'll see, but definitely some food for thought. So let's have a chat about my second game, because well, having won my first game, I was on the top table and I was playing Josh from the Pickle Jar with his Necrons, who managed to score, I think it was 78 points or 86 points. Anyway, he scored the most points out of the other tables. Darren was in 3rd and 4th place with Planets 40k, so we had Necrons versus Necrons on the top table. Second table was Necrons versus Khorne. I'm just calling it Khorne. It was a Chaos Khorne army. So yeah, I was quite pleased I wasn't playing Darren, because his army looked horrible. He had no shooting, or very limited shooting. But yeah, anyway, we played our games, and as I said, Josh had lots of warrior blobs. He had a Doomsday Ark, and we battled it out. Josh had a very good first turn. He took my Annihilation Barge down to 2 wounds, and he was sort of setting his stall out. I used the terrain to good effect. Unfortunately, the terrain, because obviously I have limited amount of terrain, wasn't exactly 5 inches tall, which is why I did the map and the description of all of the terrain on the tables and in the mission pack. But it appears that Josh and Stevo, who played on the table that we were on, didn't quite maybe read that, and they were actually shooting over the terrain which was supposed to be obscuring. And obviously when I hid my Annihilation Barge behind this piece of terrain, and then Josh tried to shoot it, and I said, "You can't shoot it because that's obscuring," then obviously that's when he realised that the terrain was not quite what he thought it was. Anyway, the long and short of it is that I gradually whittled him down. I tried to keep him in his quarter. I knew he wasn't particularly fast. He had some Ophidian destroyers. I had Wraiths to sort of counter those. So I pushed the Annihilation Barge on 2 wounds into his deployment zone so that he could sort of concentrate on that and not move forward, so that I could score my Purge the Vermin. And then I brought the Wraiths over, attacked the Annihilation Barge and took it down to a few wounds. His Ophidians came in, I charged my Wraiths and killed, I think 4 Wraiths, I think it was, and I think 2 stood back up. And then I killed the Ophidians with my spiders, mainly with their guns, and then also in the assault. And once I'd got rid of his annihilation barge and the Ophidians, it was just controlling the movement of the warriors. I sacrificed a couple of units with them, and to be fair, I played the game pretty well. I fell back with the wraiths and I killed his character who was doing an action on his objective. So I really not only sort of whittled his army down, but I stopped him from scoring, and I was scoring really well at the same time. So again, I scored 100 points in that game. I think Josh scored 46. So I had 2 games, 2 wins and 2 maximum scores. On the table next to me, Darren had beaten Planet's 40k, but not with maximum score. I can't remember the exact score, but the way that we did the tournament was wins first and then points. So if the game had gone on, well, of course it would have been Darren and myself fighting it out for the top spot, and it wouldn't matter how many points I'd had. We'd both would have been sitting on two wins each. So basically, who had won that last game would have won the tournament. However, we didn't have time for that, so I did win the tournament. I was victorious, which I was slightly embarrassed to win my own tournament, but also Necrons, I did it! That was really, really cool and a lot of fun, and really enjoyed myself. I ended up just giving the actual big prize away from Battleboard Store. I just did something fun, a dice roll off, and Let's Make It Hawkey won the big prize, so that was cool to see. The person who came last in the event got the big prize. How uncanny is that? Now, I have promised Darren that we will play out this final game just for fun at some point in the future, just to see what would happen. Now, whilst his list is very nasty, and he did do very well with it, even though he forgot a lot of his stratagems because he hadn't played the army that much, I do think that I've got a chance against his army, because my army is actually pretty decent. I mean, I can score really well, that's clear. I've got a reasonable amount of shooting, I've got a reasonably good amount of assault with my spiders, my scarabs, my wraiths. I've got, as I said, the anti-horde, the anti-tank side of things, and I don't know if he has any psychic powers, but I've got the gloom prism in there for that, and that proved very useful against Let's Make It Orky, denying one of her powers. Overall, my list is pretty good, and I've played quite a few games with it now, and I feel quite confident how to use the list. So that was the event over. Everyone chipped in, helped me pack up. A massive thank you to Richard, because he came to my house the day before, helped me set everything up, and then we had a game. He came out, we got some food and everything, so an awesome thank you to Richard. I couldn't have moved all those tables and stuff by myself, and a massive thank you to everyone who stayed to help me pack up, because that was really useful, because it was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. After the event, we went to a local restaurant and we all had some really, really nice milkshakes and some burgers and stuff from the restaurant. So it was just a fantastic day just to meet all of these YouTubers. I mean, Big Mac Dansko, I've been following him for God knows how many years, 10 years, and just to finally meet in person, just really, really good. And what's fantastic is just seeing these people you see in a video all the time, and then when you see them in real life, they're exactly the same, and you just feel like you know them. Well, you do know them, interacting with all the comments and stuff, so a fantastic event. However, what about moving forward for next year's event? Well, I learnt a lot, as I said, and going forward I now know I definitely need the 5 tables for the 10 people. Not only that, but I need to set either time limits or have a reduced amount of points, or just 2 games. So I've learnt that, and I'll sort out what I'm going to do in the future for that. I think my main issue now is that I have the 10 people who came this time, who, as far as I'm aware, all enjoyed it and want to come to the next one. But I also have the people that I previously invited, and also the people from the very first event that have been saying, oh, I was so disappointed we missed this one, I want to come to the next one. and I'm thinking I'm going to have too many people for the place where we do the event. So it's like, do you start looking outside, maybe making the event bigger, maybe more of a proper tournament, but that would mean hiring a hall and then maybe having to charge for tickets, and I think it just takes it all away from what I'm trying to achieve with this event. It's obviously an invitational event, and I don't want anyone to feel bad if I don't invite them, so maybe the answer is to have more people and smaller games. So we could have, say, 20 people but 500 point games. Lots to think about. I've got a whole year to think about it, and of course I'll interact with all of the guys that were there or that are coming and maybe do some polls. But I'd be very interested to see or hear what you think about the event going forwards from what you saw in the videos and what I've explained here, and going forward, what would you do? Let me know in the comments box below. And if you haven't seen the event video, then here it is, and here's the original 10 years on YouTube video for you to check out next.